walk by and you guys don't know this song. Come on, come on, come on. You guys don't know this song? Does anyone know the song? Okay, Miss Yale. That's what's up. Carol chose this song. Not to suggest that Carol's of an age where she would know this song. But when Carol, or that I am, because maybe I'm 37 like Sean is. He's not, I'm not, but this song, Groove is in the Heart, was chosen for a purpose. Because we're gonna talk about hearts and minds. And before we go into it, I just want to comment on the room. No one's really said how great the room looks. This was a vision of Sean's to do this. TNT. I thought they were talking about Trinidad and Tobago, because when I hear TNT, that's where my mind goes. Does your mind go there too? And the grocery store. But tactics and takeaways is what we're here to do. And before we get into the meat of our conversation, I want to hear from you about what you've taken away, because this is near the end. They put the two of us here because we're, on the more mature side of the group, and we've been in this content game a while. So I'm just interested to know what the group has taken, any takeaways, any things that you're going to walk out of here and say, when I go back to my business, I've taken away this. Miss Yale.
Filipa, I'm the content strategist in Method, and I think the biggest takeaway was talk to your audience, ask what problems they need help solving, and sort of create a content strategy that speaks to that.
Any other takeaways on this side of the room before we throw the mic to that side of the room? So you've been sitting here this whole time and no one's taken away anything?
We have one.
On an event called TNT? What?
Only because we just vibed a little bit and your energy is so potent. I feel invited to speak. So I'm Diane. I work at Cosset, an agency here in the city, and I feel really inspired to move forward with that humanity piece that we touched on with the whole AI thing. That I found that just so validating to hear that back. Prior to working in marketing and advertising, I was in theater, and I just feel really reminded of the power of what that truly human connection does when it comes to content, when it comes to your content strategy, when it comes to all those things. So thank you.
You fed right into the balance of the heart and the mind. We're not yet ready to go there yet, but the lady in yellow.
Hello, I'm Sheena. I work at Moneris. I'm a digital marketing manager there. We have a small but mighty team. So Niyati is basically our only editorial writer. So one of my big takeaways here was basically exactly what you said. I feel very validated by, somebody had said 50% editorial of the human voice for content and 50% coming from Chat GPT. We actually have started implementing uses of it. And some people are not as receptive to working with the tools as we are on our team. But it really did validate our mission for this year, which is to, for Niyati to spend more time telling those human stories. We work with small business owners. We want to be telling these stories about these small businesses and using ChatGPT almost a bit as an assistant or a tool or a team member, kind of in a way to take care of some of the nitty-gritty side of things that don't have that human feel.
Human feel. You're liking this so far.
We are definitely liking this.
We'll take one more on this side of the room. The young man in the great glasses. We want to talk about where you got those later. I like those.
We can chat about that.
Let's chat. Yes.
One of my takeaways, I think, is just surrounds that idea of quantity over quality, which was on the screen a little while ago. I'm sure the former CEO for F1 thought he was hitting on quality when he was focusing only on whatever he said, 70-year-old men who can afford Rolexes. So there's this element of experimenting with new markets, taking risks, and data-supported decisions are really important, but there's also something to be said for experimenting.
Thank you. So Sean, we did this TNT thing in your vision, and look what people are taking away. And that's just 4 people. There are more takeaways, and we're going to give you a bit more to think about in terms of the connection of the heart and the mind. And some of you spoke about how important it is to connect in with what's human. Before we go to the heart, Carol's going to take us to the brain.
Yep. So we're talking about sort of this balance of heart and mind. And I'm going to talk about the mind part of that first. So the basis of most branded content, of course, is the core information or the message that you're there to spread. And that's generally the reason why you're producing that content. It's to promote a specific product or service or raise awareness for what your company's doing. And that brand messaging has to be part of it. It has to either be reflected in the content or woven into the content somehow, but nobody's going to be reading that content if it's just this corporate message that you're putting out there. Nobody reads a press release for fun. It's just, it has to be relatable. You win hearts and minds by telling a story that's relatable, interesting. So to engage the readers, you really need to touch on that heart part, as well as the information. So the
Unless people here do read press releases for fun. We don't want to assume that
yes, totally.
people don't. But maybe
I don't, but maybe somebody does.
Maybe some people do.
So yeah, sometimes we're dealing with content that's a little more technical or dry. So you might be wondering, how do I make that relatable? How do I make that more interesting? How can I turn that into a story that people are going to want to read for fun? And I'm going to pop to the next slide. There we go, and over to Dayo.
So this point was made a few times within the conversation. I think it was Stacy who was talking about Sunnybrook and how they focused on a patient that was going through something and you got the story that way. I'll relate it this way. I don't know how you spent the weekend last weekend, but I was doing taxes. How exciting are taxes at this time of year? They are stressful. And you're just, if you could have pictured me at the Panera Bread in your square one with my bookkeeper, I'm here going through like documents and receipts, and I'm like, well, can this fit and can that fit? And I'm just really trying to make this tax game work for me. Would you rather, in a tax story, hear about my stress and pain, or would you rather hear about the CEO who's created the software? I'm okay if you say the CEO who's created the software, but you can make noise. You can talk back to me. Does anyone want to hear about my stress? Not in this moment, but in a piece of content. Sue Hash is saying yes, and so is Miss Yale.
And personally, I can say I would rather, because I am also somebody who gets stressed about these things. So that's what I would relate to. If I'm reading that
content.
kind of content, I'd be like, okay, this is a person like me. I feel for her. I'm going to read this because this touches my heart.
They might be at the Panera Bread at BC. They might be in the Panera Bread in Manitoba. But either way, they're dealing with taxes at a time, and they need to read something that connects back to the sense of humanity that we all feel, many of us feel at this time, unless you have a smooth, like Jason was telling us yesterday, he just deals with taxes. He likes to read about smooth people who can get through taxes without a problem. And I don't mind content like that too, but I would say generally, we like to feel pain together, relate together, have content that makes us connect. That's what we're working on. That goes to our heart, if you will.
The heart and the mind, and you want that human connection, and of course you need that information. It needs to be good, but they need to work together, hold hands, as you can see up here. And then one of our last points is if the content doesn't, you sort of have to look at what you would want to read yourself. If the content doesn't excite you, how's it going to excite your audience?
So when you're building content for your brand, for your business, for your audiences, don't take yourself out of the equation. Many of you take in a lot of content yourself, whether it's Formula One or Sunnybrook or whatever it is, hopefully Globe and Mail content. Yeah, I don't even hear an amen on it. What? We're hopefully Globe and Mail content. When you're reading that content, think critically about what it is that you love about it, what you like about it. You know what you're connecting to. Just know that your audience wants that too, something that connects both head and heart together.
Hearts and minds. The best content is going to be a nice balance of both.